Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. I hope everyone is having a fantastic day today. So, I am here to talk about empathy. So, my last few posts that I have done have been on narcissism and the things that they do to manipulate and cause absolute distress in your life. So, for those of you that are just now dabbling into the narcissistic realm and trying to figure out a path, I was there once. Took me 8 years in my last relationship. Now I know that I've actually dealt with several narcissists within my life, but I did not know that at the time. However, took me 8 years in my last one, which was the worst one. I thought I was going absolutely insane. And even when I found out about narcissism, I did not find out about empathy or being an empath until a year or two after that. So I was still kind of slightly confused on, I guess, what my doing was in that. I don't want to say that it's an empath's fault, but I do want to say that it is your fault if you don't know who you are. So you have to know who you are. It's really important to educate yourself, really important to make sure that you know what's happening inside you in order to figure out, I guess, how to solve the puzzle on the situations that you're dealing with. So when I found out I was an empath, it helped me a ton. However, after my relationship, after I got out, I escaped. I saved up a bunch of money. It's a whole long story, and I left. A year later, I ended up in another relationship, and that's kind of why I'm here. I originally thought that I shouldn't even say that. While I was in that relationship, it was brought to my attention that I may be a narcissist. And it was a huge dilemma for me not knowing truly if an empath can turn into a narcissist. And I remember Googling and I remember looking it up and I remember researching tons and tons and tons on whether or not I was damaged for life and whether or not I was doomed to now be a narcissist because I went through so much turmoil in my past relationship that maybe I had flipped. And so I am here for those of you that are wondering that yourself, if you've just come out of an abusive relationship, emotionally, mentally, sexually, financially, and you're finding yourself pissed, if you're finding yourself angry, if you're finding yourself being way more decisive than you've ever been in your whole life, it's not because you're a narcissist. It's because you're finally learning how to create boundaries and you don't know how to do it yet. So when I first started dating the man that I'm now engaged to, I was super mean. I wasn't mean on purpose, but I was mean because I was learning how to set boundaries and it was really, really uncomfortable for me and I didn't know how to do it. The only way that I knew how to tell somebody exactly what I wanted, the only, I guess, example that I had was my past narcissists and how they acted. So my boundaries that I was setting were set in a very rude, mean, matter-of-fact sort of way. There wasn't a whole lot of empathy involved in my boundary setting. And that's because I didn't have any examples. I didn't have anyone to look up to. I didn't have anybody to say, hey, you can do it lovingly. You can do it kind. You can actually sit and you can speak and you can say all of the things that you need to happen in this relationship, but you can say it in a nice way. I didn't know that. So it sounds silly, but I was so used to somebody setting boundaries, which was my narcissist, or setting rules. And it was always in a very stern, non-emotional way, super rude, super matter of fact. And that's what I was used to. And that's the only thing that I knew. So it was perceived as me being a total brat. And that's not what it was. So there is a deeply essential difference between an empath, or like an empathetic person, and a narcissist. Now, yes, an empathetic person can behave selfishly at times. We all have narcissistic traits within us. And one of those times would be in response to narcissistic abuse. An empathetic person who has been verbally, emotionally, and physically abused and then drained of all of their energy may become self-absorbed. And that's exactly what happened to me. Become insensitive to others, become impatient, aggressive, self-serving, or rude. But it's really important to know that these symptoms that you may have, like maybe coming up in your life, is not because you're turning into a narcissist. It's actually because you're suffering from PTSD, not narcissism. So this is not the actual true nature of who you are. And it's going to take a second, or take a little while, for you to really evolve and mold into the person that you actually are, which is an empathetic person, but learning how to embrace and use your powers that you have in a nice way, because it's all been washed off of you. And depending on how long you've been around narcissists in your life, which in my case was the majority of my life, it's really hard to kind of tune in on who you are as a person, because the only examples that you have in your life are rude people. So, as an empathetic person, you're suffering a temporary illness, basically. It's a reactive illness, PTSD. And the best way to observe the truly vast difference between an empathetic person and a narcissistic person is to examine the early relationship between each one of them. So it's assumed that an empath is emotionally healthy, at least to start with. And this will also be a simplified version of what I'm trying to talk about here. Now, it's not like 100% accurate, but, to my story, it's predominantly accurate. So an empath gives, that was me, constantly giving, constantly trying to do the best, be the best. Every ounce of energy that I had went towards the narcissist, making the narcissist happy, making him pleased with me, making the business grow, making sure the house was clean on all levels. If there was a level that wasn't met, he was certain to point it out to me. So it was a constant rat race, or almost like a hamster wheel, of trying to make sure that I was giving all the things all of the time. Now, a narcissist takes, so it's basically a perfect relationship in a messed up way, if you think about it. Empaths tell the truth. Narcissists constantly lie. An empath is faithful. A narcissist cheats often. Whether or not my narcissist cheated or not, I have no idea. There is or has been, issues with whether or not he cheated or didn't cheat. I have no idea. According to him, I cheated constantly all the time. That's one of the traits of a narcissist, is they're constantly accusing you of cheating. Anyone that I looked with, anyone that I looked at, anyone that I hung out with, anyone that I had a conversation with, that I meshed with, that I joked with, laughed with, I was basically cheating on him with. Anytime I didn't answer my phone, anytime I was out too late, it didn't matter. There was always cheating being talked about within our relationship all the time. And I didn't dare bring up him cheating even if I thought so, because I knew very well that it would just come back on me, and I just didn't have enough patience for that because it was already happening to me so often. I didn't want to, like, why would I throw myself back into that if it wasn't even part of the conversation by accusing him of doing it? So he almost like tricked me into never asking him any questions. So whether or not he did it or not, I don't even know. And I kind of feel now that looking back that was kind of the trick that he used in order to make sure that I was quiet about it. But I have no idea. An empath naturally respects a narcissist because they respect people just in general. A narcissist just totally mind fucks you. They do triangulation. They project constantly. They gaslight constantly. And if you guys don't know what that means, check out I'm on YouTube under her version, and also on this Facebook. I have 4, I think, whole YouTube videos or lectures or whatever you want to call these on what narcissists do to you in order to totally just drive you absolutely insane. And that includes the triangulation, and the gaslighting, and the projecting. So take a look at those if you're kind of diving into this and not quite sure where you fit, or if you're dealing with one of those people. Those videos break it down perfectly. So an empath may talk to a friend about problems in their relationship, but she's honest. She presents the narcissist in the best possible light. This I was known for, and I'm very frustrated with myself at times for this, because when it came down to finally leaving and I was trying to explain to friends and family what I was actually dealing with, I probably started opening up about it, like really, really honestly, a year before I actually left. And I was with this person for 13 years. And it was kind of like unbelievable when I finally started to talk about things, because people were like, whoa, 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 wait a minute. What? Like, what happened exactly? Because I was so good at protecting him and so good at making sure that I didn't portray him in the dark light that he actually should have been portrayed in, because it would also make me look crazy. Like, why would I, a strong, powerful, confident woman, be with a man who's constantly degrading me, constantly telling me that I'm worthless, constantly telling me that I'll never make anything of myself unless I'm with him, and making crude and rude comments to me about my nationality, about the way that I look, about my education, about the fact that I'm a single mom. Why would I do that? So once I finally started to bring light to it, about a year before I finally left, 12 years in, people were super confused. But that's why, because an empath doesn't necessarily want to shine a huge bright light on all the ridiculousness of what they're actually dealing with within the relationship, because it's so insane. It's so insane what they actually do to us, and it's embarrassing. So, but the opposite, the narcissist usually does what they call smear campaigns, either while they're with you or after they're with you. I didn't really deal with this a whole lot, and I think that was also part of the trickery, is I couldn't say that, I couldn't like tell people, oh, he's saying this and he's saying that to people around us, because to people around us, he was actually talking really good about me. It was really weird. So the only person that really ever saw the nastiness of who he was me, the worst. And then maybe like 1 or 2 other people that just happened to be in the room, happened to be in the office, happened to be in our house when he would say something snarky, or for this flat out rude. And then it would be highlighted. They'd come up to me afterwards and they'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he said that to you. Or, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry he said that. Or he treated you that way. So there was like little nuggets. He couldn't always be this like super charismatic, awesome, fantastic person all of the time. Even when there was people around, every once in a while, people got a little glimmer of who he was. So to those people, once it finally came out and the cat was out of the bag, and, you know, they knew I was leaving or walking out or whatever it was, they understood. They're like, yeah, I totally saw that about a dozen times with you. And it was around people that he was with all the time. So it just slipped out every once in a while that they saw that. So it was kind of one of those things like, oh my God, if he said that around me, imagine how he's treating her behind closed doors. It's kind of the way that it wound up opening up for me. It's not always like that though. A lot of times the narcissist just talks crap about their partner constantly, all the time, behind their back. Mine was a little different of a situation. Plus, we worked together. So our situation was personal and work on all levels. And he's all about success and all about money. So he had to be really careful just making me look like a total dingbat in front of the people that we worked with, which those are his only friends. He doesn't have any friends outside of his work circle. He has one friend actually, but he is a total empath, like 1,000% empath. And he has no idea he's an empath. And then the 2 or 3 like friends that he has within his work environment are also empaths, and they know they're empaths because I have educated them on that before I left. But anyways, it's not always like that. They're usually smearing your name all over the place. So they're filled with lies, absolute lies. And I don't want to say they're sinners. I shouldn't say that, but they use God a lot to manipulate and get away with how they're treating you and acting towards you by using the whole like honor your husband type deal. So the empath rationalizes the narcissist behavior, usually by like highlighting any like glimmer of empathetic traits that they do have. He was so nice when he did this. He was so nice when he did that. That usually comes from the love bombing that they do. But the narcissist is basically delusional. And the empath winds up having complete hatred towards the narcissist on all levels. Like at the end, it gets to a point where there is literally absolutely nothing but hate, unfortunately. The empath communicates with the narcissist in the clearest, most honest way all the time. Direct, super communicating, like tells all the feelings, all of the things, wants to resolve the issues, wants to be an open book and honest, and wants it to work out. And the narcissist is not about that. So they prevent any sort of communication by lying, gaslighting, using circular arguing, stonewalling, the silent treatment. I didn't really get the silent treatment too much, but that is one of the things that they do. And it's a total cluster mess of just insanity, absolute insanity. Anytime you tried to speak with mine, I would try to speak to talk about my feelings, and it would always turn into, oh my God, here we go again, talking about my feelings, one. Or he would just totally sidetrack the conversation into something completely different, just derail it 100%. He would start singing. He'd go to sleep just in the middle of it. He'd be like, yeah, let's sit down on the bed and relax and we'll talk about your feelings. And then he would lay down, turn over, and literally fall asleep. Absolutely zero communication. They hate communicating it because all they care about is themselves ultimately. So it is a disservice to the issue to blur the lines between a narcissism and an empath. They are not similar at all. So I am coming to you as an empath to let you know to not blur the lines. You cannot turn into a narcissist. You cannot just all of a sudden jump on the bandwagon and become a narcissist. You can, however, have reactions towards what you have dealt with, and it's all reactive. And that takes work. That takes a lot of work to get over. They are complete opposites on total opposite sides of the spectrum. You can't do it. It's kind of like a color wheel. the wheels that are like complete opposite of each other, you can't turn one color into another when it comes to that. You can like jump around this way, but it just doesn't work. There's no such thing. So the narcissists are not empathetic, and empaths are empathetic. And unless something crazy happens, like brain damage or something to you, or you've been knocked over the head one too many times, or abused to the point of brain damage, or in a car accident, there's nothing. There's absolutely no way that you can turn into one. And it takes a lot of work. And I'm going to tell you right now, empath to empath, there is other ways of speaking your boundaries and speaking what you need in a relationship without arguing. I didn't know this. It took me almost 3 years now with the man that I'm with tons of communicating and tons of patience on his end to make me realize that I can speak my feelings and speak my boundaries in a clear and decisive way and calmly. See, I was so used to having to talk about my feelings in a defensive manner. So when I needed to say something, it was usually yelling or screaming or angry or crying. And it doesn't have to be that way. So you can actually sit with your partner. If you are with somebody who truly loves you and truly adores you, find the time, make an appointment, and sit down with them and speak about your feelings. And if you are in a healthy, loving relationship, they will sit. You will have a conversation back and forth that does not include any arguing at all. And both sides can be heard. But that means you have to listen too. So when they come back at you with something, either disagreeing or agreeing with your actions, you also then don't have to get defensive if you are in a healthy, loving relationship. You can actually listen to whether or not they agree or disagree with you. And then you can actually speak your words back in a very calm manner. Now, if you are with somebody who is not communicating with you in a healthy, loving manner, either one, you found yourself in another narcissistic relationship with it, which is highly likely, or two, you have also throughout the months or years retrained or trained your partner to react the way they're reacting. So you also are going to have to be open and honest about who you have become and how you've trained them to possibly act the way they're acting, and politely ask if y'all can start over in a loving manner. And again, if they're a healthy, loving individual towards you and they adore you, then they will or should say, yeah, that would actually be great because you've been acting like a complete psychopath and I didn't know any other way to communicate with you besides yelling and screaming at you because it's the only way that I can get your attention or get you to listen to me because your past relationships were so screwed up that this is the only way that you can communicate. See? Now, if they don't agree with that, again, you may be with somebody who has narcissistic traits. So just wanted to stop in here, you guys, and let y'all know what was on my mind today. It takes a long time. It takes a lot of patience, and you have to do it over and over and over again. And I can tell you this with all honesty, even now, 3 years or more, like or more for real, after leaving that relationship, I seriously still falter. I still lose my temper. I still cry like a baby. I still am overreactive, but it's a learning process. You have to be really patient with yourself. And if your spouse is a loving, healthy, mentally and emotionally available person, they should also be patient with you on getting through that and talking through it. But they have to see that you're trying. They have to see that you're putting in effort. And this is the thing, people. Remember, we all come with our own baggage. We all have our own stuff. So yeah, you're dealing with something, but anybody that you wind up linking up with is also dealing with something. So don't feel like guilty or bad about what you're dealing with, because you're also linking up with somebody who also has their own stuff going on. Do you understand? So if they want you to be patient with them, then they have to be patient with you. And that's what a healthy, loving relationship is, if that makes sense. So remember that. And speak that openly with your partner. And if you need me to help, let me know. I'm here for you. So check out my website, herversion.com. I have a podcast, I have a YouTube, and I am always speaking here on Facebook for you guys. The last few times I've been on, I've been talking about narcissism and empaths because that's what's on my mind. But there's a lot of things that I've done in my life. I'm a single mother. I was born and raised as a Jehovah's Witness. I've got a lot of heaviness and guilt and ridiculousness that I carry around with that jazz. So it's an open book here. It's an open book, and this is the platform that I am using to talk about all of the things that I've dealt with. For those of you that don't know, I am a sober female. I've been sober for over a decade, and I am also working on a company linked with my original company, which is Human Better 365. It's called Sober Society. If you are someone who is looking to get sober, are sober, want your friend to get sober, let me know. I'll link you in on the private Facebook page and get you linked up with the correct people. Lots of awesome things happening on our platforms on multiple levels, all about being a better human, just like what we're trying to do over here. It's all about just being better than you were the day before. And if you fall, if you mess up, if you cry like a big baby, if you're throwing a tantrum every once in a while, be patient with yourself. Be patient with yourself, because in time, you have to wait until your mind starts carving out new paths for you, new ways of doing things. But it takes practice. So you can't just throw in the towel just because you messed up one time. You have to continue. Oh, I messed up. Let me try it again. And try it again. That's all it is. It's just trying it again. And then eventually, you'll get the hang of it. And then there'll be something else that you have to work on. And that's just life. So I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Thank you so much for joining me. And we'll see you soon.